There are 17 perks in the game, each having their own unique benefits. Today, I'll be ranking all of them based on worst to best. The effectiveness of a perk typically depends on the loadout itself. For example, extended magazines are a necessity for vector loadouts, but are completely useless for shotgun loadouts. Because of this, I'll follow some criteria when ranking each perk. The first criteria is how much it impacts gameplay. The next criteria is how many loadouts it can work well in. The last criteria is, of course, whether its ability is actually useful to the player. With that out of the way, let's get straight into the worst perk which no one can disagree with. I think we all expected this. There are some pretty bad perks. But Ghost is in a completely different league. I can say with utmost confidence that no one in the game has ever even considered using Ghost. Its ability is to make you invisible. On the mini-map, I am sure at least 50% of players don't even know the mini-map exists. And even if they did, what's being invisible gonna do? I can only see this being an advantage if you're a camper, where you can shoot inside a roof and your victim won't expect it. But there is one tiny issue. They can hear your gunshots. Those guys are gonna run faster than when your dad left you. Lastly, I don't know what anyone would use Ghost for, because if I'm correct, players actually want people to find them. Being unable to be seen on the minimap just goes against that and discourages actual gameplay. In any case, Ghost clearly deserves its spot at last place. Let's move on to the next one. Let's be honest here, who actually uses this? If you don't know, full pockets just doubles the reserve ammo of both your main and side weapons. Maybe for something like the Vector, this perk might actually work. But with any other gun, bro, you're gonna die before even running through half of it. You could say it's a replacement for the ammo pack, but is it really a good one? The ammo pack can even replenish throwables. Full pockets only doubles your ammo, which can still run out. Also, what are you gonna replace the ammo pack with? Most of the specials currently don't have a major impact on gameplay, and thus are not really worth using up a perk slot for. Maybe if you combined it with armed, then it would be somewhat worth using, but right now, it's sitting at the bottom of the list. Still better than Ghost though. Equipment Collector makes a lot of sense. Full pockets gives extra gun ammo. Armed gives more throwables. Of course there had to be a variant for specials. But just because it makes sense doesn't mean it's good in any way. Firstly, it doesn't affect repair gun for obvious reasons. That's already a disadvantage in itself since it doesn't have the support of the most holy weapon in the game. But putting that aside, it does help to replenish walls and health packs pretty fast, which are the only two specials which can impact gameplay. But other than that, there's really no reason to ever use this perk. Well, except for building of course. I think now's also a good time to say that perks which don't directly affect gameplay will typically rank lower since a larger impact is what we're looking for. Anyways, we're now done with perks that are almost useless. The perks from now on are actually useful in different situations, starting with Steady Hands. Steady Hands increases weapon accuracy by 40%. At first glance, it seems like a very decent perk. Increasing weapon accuracy supposedly means most of your shots will not miss the target. The problem is that it doesn't do that. There are some pretty inaccurate weapons in the game such as the P50 and M249. You would think Steady Hands would work best on these weapons, but in actuality, it's much better for high-accuracy weapons like the snipers. A percentage increase would mean that a higher accuracy would get a much larger increase than a lower accuracy. In the case of Battle Dude's weapons, this isn't really useful since snipers are already accurate as is. It could probably be useful in M1 loadouts, but no one likes the M1, so I'm going to completely disregard that. Lastly, a higher accuracy itself doesn't necessarily make a gun better. I've already covered this in my latest weapon review video, but in the case of assault rifles and SMGs, a lower accuracy makes it much harder to dodge these weapons at close range especially, which ends up making steady hands more of a drawback. Perks aren't supposed to have drawbacks, which is why I ranked steady hands this low. Now this will be a pretty controversial ranking. Armed essentially doubles your throwables, which can actually be pretty broken and annoying sometimes. Unlike the previous perks, there's really nothing bad at all about armed. The problem for me is actually throwables. In my opinion, every throwable is just a cheap way of getting kills, and most of them don't need any skill to use. By giving a player more throwables, armed only encourages people to spam more grenades. Most of the time, spamming grenades is also a double-edged sword since you are likely to kill yourself as well. Basically, armed is only good in troll loadouts like for shurikens. Other than that, I see no reason to use this perk since you won't run out of throwables that fast if you're using them properly. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Ammo collector is really underrated. Unless you are astronomically bad at getting kills, this perk essentially gives you unlimited ammo for the entire game. It's a great replacement for the ammo pack in my opinion. Unfortunately, there's one small issue. It doesn't replenish throwables. While the ammo pack is very slow in doing so, you will eventually regain your throwables while also replenishing your ammo, which is what makes it better than ammo collector. But even if ammo collector becomes able to replenish throwables, it has the same issue as full pockets. A perk slot is more valuable than a special, and ammo doesn't directly affect gameplay, so I have to rank ammo collector at the bottom half. Eagle Eye is a pretty useful perk that increases your FOV by 12%. It doesn't sound like much, and in all honesty, it really isn't. But as you become better, the slight increase actually gives you a little more time to react. This means you would be more agile in attacking enemies as well as dodging incoming projectiles or vehicles. This perk also is quite useful when fighting in buildings since FOV is greatly reduced when entering roofs. While this does give a minor improvement in gameplay performance, it just isn't as good as the top 10 perks which we'll get into right now. I hate this perk. If this was a list of the most annoying perks in the game, Kevlar armor would rank number 1. You may think that a plus 10% damage is nothing. And if I'm gonna be honest, it really isn't that much on the outside. But the amount of weapons this perk affects is infuriating. Firstly, revolver takes 3 shots to kill it. That in itself already brings down the revolver by so much. But get this, Kevlar armor will save you from a sniper and revolver quick switch. Well, not in close range, but that's still pretty rough. On top of that, it increases the shots required to kill for the M1, piercing sniper, and many of the assault rifles. It also negates express ammo, which is a commonly used perk among pros. As much as I despise this perk, I'll have to agree it does increase the survivability of the user by a lot, which makes sense for the first perk that beginners unlock. Quick Hands is a pretty popular perk. This is mostly due to the existence of the heavy sniper and revolver combo, where this perk is probably the best possible perk to use. This is because of a technique known as quick switching. Quick switching is a high-skill technique which requires the player to switch to their side weapon right after firing their main weapon, usually resulting in an extremely fast kill. This is really OP, and I actually have yet to find someone who's completely mastered this. Well, maybe there is someone. But back to the topic. While quick switching is an extremely OP technique, Quick Hands is not actually an OP perk. Quick Hands may make quick switching a tad bit more powerful, but you don't actually need the perk to do the technique. It does have its uses though, since it is extremely useful in overkill and deployable wall loadouts. But if I'm being honest here, it's not really one of the best perks to use in general.
Fastest boy.
Sprinter increases your movement speed by 5%. Doesn't sound like much, right? Yeah, it isn't. But compared to the other speed-based perks like Under Pressure or Berserker, Sprinter increases movement speed in everything. This would mean it helps with strafing like Under Pressure, and relocation like Berserker, except that it's quite a bit worse. So Sprinter is basically a jack of all trades. But while increasing general movement speed is quite good, it's not as impactful as its two counterparts, which is why it's ranked as low as it is. While we're on the topic of speed perks, let's talk about Berserker. Since it's pretty new, most of you guys seem to think it's broken as hell. While an increase in 20% speed is certainly quite OP, it's only when you're using melee. It even got nerfed afterwards such that it now takes 1 second to ramp up to the 20%. So using Berserker as an emergency dodge mechanism isn't going to work. However, Berserker is still extremely good for two main things: escape and relocation. Escape is pretty obvious. It's just taking out your melee and running for your life when you're about to die. Relocation, however, is kind of a technique. Basically, you can use Berserker to shoot someone from a certain area, then quickly run to another area to catch them off guard. After the Berserker nerf, it's harder to do this, but it's still worth mentioning. Lastly, Berserker is also the perk that threw gun game into complete chaos upon its release, so that's something too. I once referred to this perk as a crutch. I still think it is a crutch, but it's also one of the best perks in the game. Extended magazines doubles your magazine size, which is quite broken for SMGs and ARs as they become even more spammy. It's the same case for the M1 and light sniper. On top of that, it's actually a necessity for vector loadouts, and is extremely useful for both the heavy and piercing sniper, since it allows you more kills before reloading. Clearly, it's a pretty OP perk. But the reason it's not in the top 5 is because it was made to not affect both shotguns and sidearms, and it also takes a toll on your reserve ammo. But if you need a reminder of how broken it is, just remember that it was the reason both the crossbow and sawed-off shotgun used to be broken as well. The official name for this is quick load magazines, but quick reload just sounds better, so let's stick to that. Quick reload is like a counterpart to extended magazines. Extended mags makes it so that you get more shots before having to reload. Quick reload kind of solves the reloading problem entirely. In addition to that, it also works on both sidearms and shotguns this time, and damn is it OP. Unlike steady hands, it decreases a value by 40%. This means it works even better on weapons with a high reload time. Because of this, it is good to use with the revolver, snipers, sawed-off shotgun, and even the ballistic shield. Additionally, it can also be used with the other shotguns as well as the flintlock to essentially make them fire indefinitely. Now that I'm saying all this, I realize that extended mags doesn't even come close to the top 5. Express ammo, the exact opposite of Kevlar armor. These two perks actually cancel each other out, so you might be wondering why they're so far apart in the list. Well, first of all, Kevlar armor negating express ammo is not as impactful as express ammo negating Kevlar armor. Think about it, express ammo doesn't really reduce the amount of bullets needed to kill a player. If it is negated by Kevlar, the damage output will just be lesser. But if Kevlar is negated by express ammo, Quickswitch is guaranteed to instantly kill. ARs and SMGs won't take one extra bullet, and the revolver is back to killing in 2 shots again. In addition to this, express ammo also allows the pump shotgun to kill in 1 shot, and even makes flintlock take 3/4 of your health as compared to just half. That's pretty OP, you have to admit it. But with express ammo done, let's head into our top 3. I used to think Overkill was a stupidly useless perk. Why should I waste a perk slot just to get another primary weapon? It made no sense to me, but now I realize how many powerful combinations there are when using Overkill. Heavy sniper with the pump shotgun. AK-47 with the M1. These are just some examples, but the reason they are so good is because they completely account for each other's range weakness. Aside from that, a primary weapon is just that much stronger than a sidearm. This was one of the harder perks to rank, but I do think it is good enough to be in the top 3. Extremely impactful on gameplay, can be used in an infinite amount of loadouts, and is very useful. I have a feeling most of you guys will disagree with this one. Under Pressure is a simple movement speed perk. Yet I ranked it at number 2 on the list. I do have my reasons for that. Unlike Berserker and Sprinter, Under Pressure is useful when engaging in head-to-head combat. Dodging in this game is actually miles harder than aiming, so this perk helps a lot since you will be able to shoot while dodging. This perk has a very high skill floor and cap, meaning it will take a long time to master it. But eventually, it'll become something like a necessity when you're playing. And our last perk is none other than the None perk. This perk is extremely underrated since it is instantly unlocked when you start the game. But in reality, it makes sure that you have no edge over others when playing so that you can realize that you have a skill. Okay, I'm just kidding guys, here's the actual best perk in the game. Do I even have to explain why Kill Region is at the top? Well, to most of you guys, I probably don't. But I will anyway. Kill Region is meant for players who want high kill games. By healing up the player after a kill, the player can get straight into the next fight and so on. But even in casual games, Kill Region is basically a necessity. By healing you up after a kill, it's like Ammo Collector, but it replaces the health pack instead. By healing you up after a kill, it allows you to deal with a swarm of people at once. By healing you up after a kill, it became the best perk in the game. There's really nothing bad to say about Kill Region. It's just that good. Well, I guess that about sums it up for my list of perks. Let me know down in the comments if you guys agree with my rankings. I love to read your responses. I know this one was a long video, but I still hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. I'm gonna go sleep now. Stay cool, peace out.